Dana White weighs in and he says the fight from a competitive standpoint, Francis versus Fury, was unbelievable. Now, that sounds right. That sounds exactly like we've all been saying as well. It really was tough to believe what you were seeing. And from people that have done the sport before, unbelievable is a very realistic word, because it's not just that he was competitive. It's not just that he put Fury down. Like, that might have really impressed people that were viewers, but I think if you were to use logic and reason, a great big heavyweight, good enough to be a heavyweight champion, who's known for his power, is to hit you. Like, it wouldn't really matter if you've been boxing for 30 years or not. If you get hit, you go down. Like, we understand that. But some of the more difficult things to understand was strategies, was reaction. The accuracy of Francis Ngannou is something that hasn't been talked about enough. I mean, if you go back and you watch that match, and I don't expect you to, and for those of you that say that you have done that, I don't believe you. And I don't believe you to insult you. I do it to defend you. If you went back and you watched a match again to rescore it so that you could tell your 5 Twitter followers what you thought, you're a dork. And I don't believe you that you did it. I don't believe that you had it on tape. I don't believe that you had the ability to rewind and rewatch it. I don't believe that you watched it initially live in the first place. I just simply don't believe you. But for those of you that like to make the really weird claim that you went and rewatched something again, the accuracy of Francis really hasn't been discussed, and it should. It is quite possibly the biggest thing that detractors of the competitiveness of this match, right, prior to the fight, detractors, myself, detractors, we didn't think they could put a hand on him. It wasn't just a matter that he would get chopped up, he'd get hit to the body with different combinations, upstairs, flustered. It was that his offense wasn't going to work. Francis is not an overly fast man. He's not an overly big setup type guy. It's important, right? You start to learn, maybe you can't deal with the guy's strikes, but if you, maybe you got to break it down, you deal with his setups. You know how to react to the setups, the strikes never come, right? Like, there's just things that are really important that Francis doesn't have in spades. So when you're a detractor and when you're betting that Fury is going to beat him, it's not just that Fury is going to hit him. It was more of an understanding that Francis couldn't hit Fury. I don't know if that's impressive to you or not. I know before I started boxing, it was not impressive to me, and I took it for granted. I would see guys on TV, and I mean, it didn't look overly complicated. I would play it through in my head and think, okay, I can go and do this. In fact, I had my first fight without ever having an MMA or a boxing practice. I had my first fight, and one of the things I was so surprised about, I couldn't touch him. I didn't know I didn't know that range. It took a while to learn it. And then when you get going with guys that are very skilled, you'll just never put a hand on them, right? And you've seen the elites, the James Tonys, the Floyd Mayweathers, the Muhammad Alis, but even the less elite, if they're just elite in comparison to your skills, you've never done it, they have done it. You just won't put a hand on them. You just simply will not. To go ahead, step in range, I won't throw back, go ahead. You'll never touch their head. They'll know everything that's coming. Is one of the things that we were basing the prediction of Francis's potential demise to be about. And that isn't what happened. There was not a lot of air balls. And I'm trying to figure out why. I mean, of all the stuff that we saw, and Dana using the word unbelievable, it is unbelievable. And I'm trying to figure out why. And it's unlike any surprising combat we've ever seen. There is always an excuse made. And the fans are quick to run with it. They're quick to run with it and believe it. And they tried to do it here too. They tried to cover for Fury in multiple different ways. He had been out for too long. He has ring rust, which is very real and very true. Like, there's not a way to deny that. When a guy claims a rib injury, or he claims his hurt, or he claims, you never know. There's no way to prove it. The fact that Fury had been out longer than he would have liked to have been out, we can just look at a calendar and see. Now, if you juxtapose the break that Fury had with other breaks Fury has had, it loses a lot of weight. This was not the longest break, but you still at least now know that it's true. Great, we have our excuse. Well, not when you find out that also provable Francis had been out almost twice as long. But Fury is not. As young as he once was, right? This was the big talk on Floyd when Conor beat him up. Hey, that's not him anymore. The bad news for that is Floyd kept on fighting since. 5 years more Floyd's been fighting. Whipped them all. So it loses its weight. Fury may not be as young as you want, but Francis is older than Fury. And just, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Conor was bigger than Floyd, and that explains it, but Fury was bigger than Francis, so now you're stuck again. I mean, I've really enjoyed that part of it. I've enjoyed that the boxing enthusiasts have not been able to put out the BS story that they would like to put out. And it is wildly difficult to accept something to be true that you were confident was not. It's hard and it hurts bad. And I know that because I felt it. I believed in boxing, believed all the things that I told you. You get a guy that's done it a lot more than the other guy, he'll never put a hand on him. It matters. He'll know how to go to the body, he'll know how to come upstairs and get out of the way. I'll hit you, you won't hit me. My footwork, my speed, my timing, my distance, my strategies, all these things will trump yours, and above everything else, I can turn to the great elephant in the room, which is straight up conditioning. You cannot be in shape to go 30 minutes if you have not previously gone 30 minutes. None of it was true. And I am absolutely stuck trying to figure out how and why.